February 24, 2022, 11:47 a.m. Hostomel Airport, 10 kilometers northwest of Kyiv. 34 Russian Mi-8 helicopters approach. Low altitude. Fast. Each carries 20 VDV airborne troops. Russia's elite. Best trained, best equipped. 680 soldiers total. Mission: seize Hostomel Airport. Hold for reinforcements. Enable air bridge to Kyiv. Capture Ukrainian capital within 72 hours. This is linchpin of entire invasion. Russian planning assumes VDV secures airport. Heavy transport aircraft land. Mechanized forces drive from Belarus. Converge on Kyiv. Government flees or surrenders. War ends quickly. Clean. Decisive. Russian victory. The helicopters land. VDV deploys. Secures perimeter. Minimal resistance initially. Airport appears lightly defended. VDV establishes positions. Prepares for transport aircraft. First waves successful. By 12:30 p.m., 600 plus VDV troops control Hostomel. Waiting, confident. Then Ukrainian counterattack begins. National Guard, territorial defense, regular army units, converging from multiple directions. Heavier than intelligence predicted. More organized, more determined. VDV is isolated, outnumbered. No heavy armor, no artillery support. Just small arms and determination. Confidence becomes concern. At 5:47 p.m., 6 hours after landing, over 300 VDV soldiers are dead or wounded. Helicopters destroyed attempting resupply. Heavy transport aircraft can. Russian elite forces are being annihilated by Ukrainian defenders who weren't supposed to fight this hard. Mission failed. Invasion timeline shattered. What was supposed to be quick victory became disaster that exposed every Russian planning failure. And it happened in 6 hours at one airport 10 kilometers from Ukrainian capital. This is IronBullet. And what happened at Hostomel wasn't just tactical defeat. It was strategic catastrophe that revealed Russian invasion plan was fantasy. Where elite airborne forces got massacred because intelligence was wrong, planning was delusional, and Ukrainian resistance was underestimated catastrophically. Where 6 hours of combat destroyed months of preparation and exposed that Russian military's confidence exceeded its competence. The question isn't whether VDV was destroyed at Hostomel. Casualty figures prove it. Question is how. How did Russia's best troops get slaughtered in 6 hours? Why was airport assault planned with assumptions that had no basis in reality? And what this revealed about Russian military's institutional dysfunction that assumed Ukrainian resistance would collapse immediately. Official Russian statements about Hostomel, initial triumph. Airport secured. Then silence as situation deteriorated. Then lies. Tactical adjustment. No acknowledgement that VDV was being massacred. No admission that invasion's critical, just propaganda claiming success even as elite units were being destroyed. Reality and statements diverged completely. Reality won. Statements were worthless. Ukrainian statements shocked initially. Russia's best troops landing at major airport near capital. Terrifying, then determined. Counterattacked immediately. Every available unit. Threw everything at VDV before they could consolidate. Succeeded. Destroyed Russian plan at moment of maximum vulnerability. Ukrainian military proved competent. Determined. Capable. Everything Russian intelligence said they weren't. That intelligence failure cost 300 VDV troops their lives. Cost Russia its invasion timeline. Cost Putin his quick victory fantasy. Stay with me, because the detail that explains Hostomel Massacre, why VDV got slaughtered in 6 hours, is going to show you that airborne operations require follow-on forces arriving quickly. VDV held airport, but reinforcements never came. That special operations require accurate intelligence. Russian intelligence was catastrophically wrong. That elite troops without heavy weapons can't hold positions against combined arms attack. Ukrainian forces brought everything. VDV had small arms. That victory requires plans based on reality. Russian plan was based on fantasy. All these failures converged at Hostomel. 6 hours, 300 elite troops dead, invasion plan destroyed. Let's establish what Hostomel assault was supposed to achieve, and why it failed catastrophically. Hostomel Airport, also called Antonov Airport, located 10 kilometers from Kyiv center. Strategic significance, large runway, can handle heavy transport aircraft, EL-76 and 124s, capable of landing mechanized forces directly near capital. This is why Russia wanted it, why VDV assaulted it. Control Hostomel, establish air bridge, land tanks and APCs directly near Kyiv, capture city before Ukraine mobilizes defense. Theory was sound. Execution failed at every level. Russian planning assumptions. Ukrainian forces won't fight seriously. Government will flee. Military will collapse. Citizens won't resist. VDV can seize airport easily. Hold for a few hours. Reinforcements arrive. Kyiv falls. War ends. These assumptions were fantasy, completely detached from reality. But Russian planning treated them as fact, planned entire invasion around them. When assumptions proved false, plan collapsed. VDV paid price. VDV capabilities and limitations, elite airborne forces, best Russian military training, experienced, professional, but lightly armed, assault rifles, machine gun, RPGs, some anti-tank missiles, no tanks, no armored vehicles initially, no artillery. Helicopter delivered forces travel light. This is acceptable for raids, not for sustained defense. VDV wasn't equipped to hold airport against serious counterattack. Planned to hold for hours. We got trapped for 6 hours fighting force that was heavier, more numerous, more determined than intelligence predicted. Ukrainian response. Immediate. National Guard units nearby responded within minutes. Territorial defense mobilized. Regular army units diverted from other operations. Everyone converged on Hostomel, understood strategic significance. If Russians establish air bridge, Kyiv falls. If VDV is destroyed before reinforcements arrive, invasion plan fails. Ukrainians chose destroy VDV. Threw everything available. Succeeded. This wasn't a miracle. This was professional military response executed competently against enemy who assumed competent response impossible. February 24th. The battle, what VDV experienced in 6 hours. 11:47 a.m. Helicopters land. VDV deploys rapidly. Textbook execution. Secures perimeter. Clears buildings. Establishes defensive positions. Initial resistance minimal. Airport security. Few soldiers. Quickly overwhelmed. VDV reports success. Airport secure. Phase 1 complete. Waiting for Phase 2. Heavy transports with vehicles and supplies. Everything proceeding as planned. Except Ukrainian response is already mobilizing. Just hasn't arrived yet. 12:15 p.m. First Ukrainian units arrive. National Guard. Light vehicles. Small arms. Probing attacks. Testing VDV perimeter. VDV repels easily. But this is reconnaissance. Ukrainians assessing VDV strength and positions. Real attack is coming. VDV recognizes this. Requests immediate reinforcement. Command says heavy transports inbound. Hold position. VDV holds. Hopes reinforcements arrive before Ukrainian main force. 1:00 p.m. Ukrainian attack begins. Multiple units, multiple directions. Combined arms, infantry, light armor, artillery support. This is serious assault. Not probing, VDV fights back, competent, professional, but outnumbered, outgunned, no heavy weapons, artillery bounce position. VDV can't counter battery, just endure, return small arms fire, hold perimeter, bleed, wait for reinforcements that aren't coming. 1:30 p.m., VDV perimeter contracts, casualties mounting, can't hold entire airport, falls back to central areas, runway, terminal, defensive position, Ukrainians press, close distance. VDV fights desperately, professional even in disaster, but professionalism can't overcome material disadvantage. No armor, no artillery, just rifles against combined arms assault. Math doesn't work. VDV dies holding anyway. 2 p.m. First resupply helicopters attempt landing. Ukrainian air defenses engage. Stinger missiles, heavy machine guns, 2 helicopters shot down. Others aboard. No resupply, no reinforcements. VDV is isolated. Ammunition running low. Wounded accumulating. No medical evacuation. Just fight until ammunition gone. Then die. Some VDV troops recognize situation is hopeless. Most fight anyway. Professionalism, duty, pride, reasons don't matter when situation is impossible. 3 p.m. Heavy transport aircraft attempt landing. Il-76Es carrying mechanized forces. This is phase 2. Critical. If transports land, VDV gets reinforcements. Might hold, might survive. Transports approach. Ukrainian air defenses engage. S-300 missiles, just artillery targeting runway. 1 Il-76 shot down. Other support. No landings. No reinforcements. VDV is alone. Plan has failed. Mission is impossible. But orders say hold. So VDV holds and dies. 4 p.m. VDV perimeter collapses. Ukrainian forces break through in multiple locations. Close combat. Room clearing. Brutal. VDV fights back, but overwhelmed. Fragmented. Communications breaking down. Units isolated. Fighting individually. No coordination and just survival. Some VDV troops attempt breakout. Escape to Belarusian border. Some succeed. Most die trying. Those remaining hold core position. Runway. Terminal. Surrounded. Trapped. Waiting for relief that won't come. 5 p.m. Final VDV positions under assault. Ukrainians bring everything. Tanks, artillery, infantry. Overwhelming force. VDV has no answer. Small arms versus tanks is suicide. Some surrender. Ukrainian forces accept VDV is professional enemy, not fanatic. Others fight to death. Professional to end. By 5:47 p.m., 6 hours after landing, organized VDV resistance ends. Some troops escaped. Some surrendered. Most died. Over 300 casualties. Elite units shattered. Airport uncaptured. Mission failed. Invasion timeline destroyed. Now the analysis. Why this happened. What it meant. Intelligence failure. Russian intelligence assumed Ukrainian forces wouldn't fight seriously. This was criminally wrong. Ukrainian forces fought immediately, competently, determinedly. Every assumption about Ukrainian response was false. This isn't intelligence failure. This is fantasy treated as fact. Russian intelligence told commanders what they wanted to hear. Not reality, not truth. Pleasant fiction. That fiction killed 300 VDV troops when reality intervened. Planning arrogance. Russian plan required everything working perfectly. VDV seizes airport. Transports land immediately. Ground forces arrive simultaneously. Kyiv falls within days. No contingency if VDV gets delayed. If transport aircraft can land. If Ukrainian resistance is serious, plan assumed best case scenario at every decision point. This isn't planning, This is wishful thinking. Military operations require planning for resistance, for failures, for contingencies. Russian plan had none. When first assumption failed, entire plan collapsed. VDV abandonment. After landing, VDV received no effective support. Resupply helicopters shut down. Heavy transports couldn't land. Ground forces didn't arrive, stuck in traffic and Ukrainian resistance. VDV was left isolated, fighting alone. This isn't bad luck. This is systemic failure. Airborne operations require tight coordination. Everything synchronized. Russia achieved none of this. Just threw elite troops into grinder. Hoped for best. Got worst. VDV paid price for commanding competence. Ukrainian competence. Ukrainian forces responded professionally, immediately, effectively. Mobilized available units. Coordinated assault. Used combined arms correctly. Destroyed isolated enemy force before it could be reinforced. This is textbook counterattack. Ukrainian military proved capable. Russian intelligence said they weren't. Intelligence was wrong. This competence gap between Russian assumptions and Ukrainian reality killed VDV. Ukrainians weren't supposed to fight this well. Did anyway. Destroyed Russian plan. Strategic impact, Hostomel failure cascaded through entire invasion. Without air bridge near Kyiv, mechanized forces had to advance from Belarus via roads. Slow, predictable, vulnerable. Timeline extended from days to weeks. Gave Ukraine time to mobilize. Gave West time to respond. Hostomel was supposed to be quick decapitation. Became prolonged conventional war. Russia wasn't prepared for. 6 hours at one airport changed entire war's trajectory. VDV's destruction ensured Russia couldn't win quickly. Quick victory was only victory Russia could achieve. Everything else guaranteed failure. 3 questions from the beginning. Time to answer them. How did elite VDV get massacred in 6 hours? Multiple failures. Intelligence wrong about Ukrainian resistance. Planning assumed best case at every point. No contingencies when plan failed. VDV isolated without support. Ukrainian forces responded competently with combined arms. VDV had small arms versus tanks and artillery. Professional competence can't overcome material disadvantage when outnumbered. VDV fought well, died anyway. Not failure of troops. Failure of command that sent them into impossible situation with unrealistic plan. Why was airport assault planned with fantasy assumptions? Institutional arrogance. Russian military believed on propaganda about Ukrainian weakness. Believed invasion would be easy. Planned accordingly. No intelligence challenging assumptions. No planning for serious resistance. Just confidence that victory was inevitable. This institutional failure, where reality is ignored because inconvenient, killed 300 troops, will kill thousands more, has killed thousands more. Hostomel was first major example, not last. Pattern repeated throughout war. What did Hostomel reveal about Russian military dysfunction? Everything. Intelligence failure. Planning based on fantasy. No coordination between forces. Elite troops abandoned without support. Arrogance overriding competence. Wishful thinking replacing analysis. All institutional pathologies that weaken militaries. Russian military had all of them. Hostomel exposed them in 6 hours of combat. VDV died teaching lesson Russian command ignored. War continues because institutions don't learn from failures. Just repeat them with new victims. The lesson from Hostomel is that elite troops can't overcome institutional failure. VDV was professional, competent, brave, fought well against impossible odds, died because command sent them into disaster based on fantasy planning. This pattern repeats. Good soldiers dying because bad planning. Bad intelligence, bad assumptions. Russia's military problem isn't troop quality, it's institutional dysfunction at every level above troops. Hostomel proved this in 6 hours. 22 months later, still true, still killing soldiers, still ignored by command. This is IronBullet. We analyze battles that define wars. Hostomel defined Russia's war in Ukraine. Showed plan was fantasy. Intelligence was wrong. Ukrainian resistance was underestimated. Quick victory was impossible. Everything afterward flowed from Hostomel failure. 6 hours determined 22 months. 300 VDV troops died exposing Russian military's institutional delusion. Their sacrifice taught lesson command refused to learn. War continues. Casualties mount. Pattern repeats. Hostomel was warning. Warning ignored. Cost keeps accumulating. The fields around Hostomel are graveyard. VDV fought there. Died there. Tried to hold impossible position with inadequate support against competent enemy. Professionalism wasn't enough. Equipment wasn't enough. Training wasn't enough. Because plan was fantasy. Assumptions were lies. Support never came. VDV was sacrificed for commanders' delusions. This is how wars are lost. Not through soldiers failing. Through commands failing soldiers. Hostomel is case study. 300 dead elite troops are evidence. Invasion timeline destroyed is result. Everything seems flows from 6 hours when reality destroyed Russian fantasy. VDV paid price. Russia still paying. Subscribe to IronBullet. Because in modern warfare, plans based on fantasy guarantee disaster. Hostomel proved this. VDV died proving it. Russian command ignored lesson. Continues operating on fantasy assumptions. Continues suffering disasters. Pattern is clear. Institutional learning doesn't occur. Just repeat failures with new victims. Soldiers deserve better. Deserve competent command. Deserve realistic planning. Deserve accurate intelligence. Get none of this. Die anyway. Hostomel. Everywhere. Always. Until institutions change or soldiers stop fighting. Neither likely. So tragedy continues. 300 VDV troops. 6 hours. 1 airport. Mission failed. Invasion timeline destroyed. Quick victory impossible. Everything changed at Hostomel in 6 hours. Best Russian troops died because worst Russian planning met Ukrainian reality. Gap between assumption and fact is measured in corpses. 300 at Hostomel. Thousands since. All dying because command operates in fantasy world. Soldiers operate in reality. Gap kills. Always has. Always will. Hostomel is proof. Real battles. Real tactics. Real consequences. Stay informed.